Hi, I'm Kristen. A couple weeks ago, I put up my quilts in review video for 2021. So basically, I was showing you all the quilts that I finished last year. What I didn't show you was all the projects that I started but didn't finish. So people call those WIPs, works in progress. Are mine really UFOs? We can debate, and I'll explain what that term is as I go along. But basically, my aim for this sort of exercise of going through my WIPs is to finish off a few of them, not all of them, but a few of them before I start new projects for 2022, because I've got loads of new ideas, but I've got all these old projects that I haven't finished. So I need to kind of decide what I'm doing. So I would love it if you guys would watch this and comment and let me know which ones you'd like to see me finish, because I can, turn them into tutorials and videos and stuff. So let me know what you want to see, and maybe that'll help me. I've got a few I know I want to crack on with, but I'd love your input. So let's get to it. So first of all, I know some of you are already going to know this terminology, but I didn't know it when I started. So I'm just going to quickly go through it. So a work in progress, or a WIP, W-I-P, is a quilt project that you are working on a regular basis that's not finished yet. So the joke is that quilters have loads of WIPs and not a lot of finished quilts. And when I first started quilting, I thought I'll never have those. Because I was, when I first started, I was kind of like, I would finish a quilt, then I would quilt it, bind it, and then I would move on to the next one. But the more you kind of learn and the more things you want to try, the more you start starting things and not finishing them. So I don't so much have the problem of having finished quilt tops that I haven't quilted. I don't like basting, but I do tend to just make myself get on with it and do it. But I do have lots of projects that aren't quite finished, that aren't even quilt tops yet. So that's what I'm talking about. So a WIP, I would call my weight loss quilt, which some of you know about that I'm doing. So this one's not a problem because I'm working on it every week. It's definitely in progress. So I'm not worrying about that one. Ones that some people would call WIPs and some other people might call UFOs, so unfinished objects, which is like a quilt project or partial quilt project that's just been left and you're not working on it every week and you're not coming back to it. So some of my WIPs kind of fall into UFOs, and some of them I dip into once a month or something like this. This one, so this is the Farmer's Wife 1930s quilt. I think there's even a blog post on the blog that's got a few of the quilt blocks in it. And I was doing it on a regular basis with a group of quilting friends. And then I think a couple of them finished the whole quilt really quickly, and then some other people stopped posting. And so then kind of the motivation went. Anyway, so this is one I think I want to get back into and finish. So there's 100 blocks if you make the queen size, which is obviously what I thought I was going to make when I started because I was being ambitious. And I'm doing it with foundation paper piecing. So I've got a lot of finished blocks. I think it's about 26. So it's not quite... it was never quite halfway, so I didn't get all the way there. I'm doing it scrappy. It's all kind of different colors. I don't really know what the, how I'm going to set it, what sashing, background colors. I just sort of was trying all these different blocks to practice and to try mixing colors together. So some of these were done really quite early on in my quilting journey, and some of them I did. I think the most recent one was probably sometime in the autumn last year. So I'm calling this a UFO. I want it to be a WIP, but it's a UFO. So I'm thinking this is one I might try and crack on with this year. I'm not going to get it done in January or anything, but I might try and make it a more regular thing. So if anyone is interested in seeing that, do let me know. I'm just sort of going through the blocks that I've got done. So you can see there's a fair amount of work that is done. It's just not, it's not the 100 blocks. So my choices are, I could crack on and say I'm doing 100, or I could look back at the book, the Farmer's Wife book, and see, how many it takes to do a different size. And maybe I would do that. I'm going to put some of these down because these are heavy. So I'll just go through them quicker. If I end up doing a video about this, you'll see them all. So, and those are those. And then I also had, I didn't do them for every one, but I think I said in the blog post, a whole bunch of Scrappy 3.5-inch squares from the scraps from those blocks so they could go in the back. So there's like a fair amount done on this project, but it's not, it's not finished yet. So that's probably UFO number 1, WIP number 1, call it what you want. So let me show you some others. Okay, so this is another one. This is what I'm calling a string quilt. So this is one that I started, I don't know if some of you will remember, I did what I called a kind of modern scrappy improv quilt. I'll put a picture up for my friend's wedding in October. And this was the quilt that I started making before that one that I ended up not liking and didn't give her, basically. So it's a quilt as you go kind of thing, but by blocks, right? So I'll show you this unfinished one in a second. So I might lay them out and try to show you a photo of what this was supposed to look like. But basically I took out some blue and white strips that I had, scrappy strips, and cut different, I have to look back to see what size the blocks were. If I did a video, I'd tell you, but it was like, they were multiples of each other. So basically there was a smaller block, either 9 or 10 inches, and then there was a bigger block that would have been 20 or whatever, a multiple of it to make it bigger. So some of them were just straight like this, and some of them were, so here, this is a few together, so you can see from the back. So this was like, on the diagonal, that kind of a string quilt, if you've seen that. So, and the idea was to do the false back quilt as you go method. So I was going to put the top all together and then put the back on and put a few more quilting lines down. So, and I got a fair way with it. What's in here? Maybe I didn't. So this is all the batting that I was using. I was trying to use up that fusible batting that I've talked about in another video that I don't like. So I was like, well, I'll just cut it up and do it block by block instead of for a whole quilt. So there was some denim strips, there was some blue strips. It was just this is all just the materials. There's nothing else in there. So I've got, and then I had some bigger ones. So I was going to make huge blocks, I think. So this one's not quite finished. I think this is where I lost the mojo on this one. So I'll try setting it out what it was supposed to start to look like. I think it was when I added this color. So I was going to do it blue and white. Thought it didn't have enough of a punch, and then I added that, and then I was like, I don't know if I like that anymore. So then I moved on to the other quilt, which I think was a good idea for her. I think that would definitely suited her style better. But so I have to decide whether I want to actually make a quilt, or like this could be a cushion, a floor cushion, or a great big sofa cushion. Same with the rest of this, and I could just put the strips back into my pile of scraps and use it for something else. I don't have to make this into a full quilt. So there'll be other options for some of these WIPs. This one's definitely a UFO because I haven't touched it since I decided not to finish it. So I could, or I could make pot holders, placemats. I could make something small with this, which is kind of what I'm leaning towards. But if anybody thinks they really want to see this turn into a quilt, let me know. I might consider it. So, okay, I'll put that one away and I'll get another one. Okay, so this one's similar to the last one in that it's denim and kind of blue and white strips. That's the smallest bit of it. It was meant to be, I'll take another photo so you can see roughly where I got to, but it was meant to be like just a great big, what do you call it? Kind of like a log cabin, is it? Oh, I don't know the terms of these things. Anyways, and I got a few sections, and there was no plan, there was no measuring. And now I'm just not sure that I can be bothered to get to the end of this one. So I could extend it and make it into a quilt, or this one I am kind of thinking maybe I need to sort of cut up and join and make this into some sort of a floor cushion. I don't know. So this one I'm not sure about, but I will give you a photo of it. So, and you can let me know your thoughts. What should I do with it? So I'm not going to, just so you know, if you haven't watched any of my videos before, I'm not going to bin it. I'm going to do something with it. So eventually. So that's kind of, it's just figuring out whether, because I think, previously I might have put pressure on myself to make anything I started into a quilt, and I guess that's why I have more whips, is because I've been like trying to take on board that kind of advice. Like, if you're not feeling it, don't spend all your energy on it, you know, spend your time on the things that you really enjoy. But I do not want to leave it to go to waste. So I'm probably going to have to do something with it. So I'd love any ideas for something simple to do with this one. Or if you think it really needs to be a quilt, let me know. Okay, next one. These are some, so I guess these are Orphan Blocks now, because they were from a B block exercise from one of the quilt guilds I'm in. So I joined a couple during COVID because it was all online anyways, and one had a waiting list. Anyway, big long thing. But and then since things were opening up and they started having meetings, I was then in two, and it was a bit much. So I've chosen which one I'm going to stick with, and now I have sort of unfinished projects from what I was getting involved in with the other one. So this one was B blocks. There was like monthly prompts, and I kind of picked some colors. And I was just making any kind of block. Basically, the idea was it was going to be a sampler quilt, so I would have just put some strips around to make it all join up in the end. This one was a crumb block, so this was my prompt for the B block, was to do a crumb block, and I did a video about crumb quilting using this as the example, and then just a few other bits and pieces. So some of them were foundation paper pieced, most of them. And then some of them were just exercises and other things, depending on what the prompt was. And then I've got a little basket of, I think this was roughly going to be for it, but it wasn't part of the prompt. I don't know. Just some like applique blocks. And then I've got some of the materials that I was using in a little container, because I was going to make sure I used every last bit of this scrap in this quilt kind of thing. So I could continue to make that a quilt, or I could add it to some other Orphan Blocks and make it like some Orphan Block quilts. So any ideas on that, I would love to hear. And I think after that one, I will just show you. So I've got some other whips, but I've got Orphan Blocks over here. Here we go. Okay. So this is my actual basket of Orphan Blocks. So they could be joined to that, or they could be separate projects or whatever. So an Orphan Block is kind of something that you made. It could be something where you started a quilt project you didn't finish, or it could be one where you sort of tested a technique and you just did one block and you didn't have a plan for it, and now you have them sitting in a basket, basically in a box. So I've got a bunch of different ones. The closest thing I actually have to an unfinished quilt top, let me find it. This was the back of it, I think, is this one. I'll take a photo again on the floor and put it up here. But basically, so this is the one. I don't know what this measures. This is the one that I started in January last year, and then I kind of lost the confidence with, and I ended up doing my Just Make Anything denim quilt, if you've seen that. So this started with the 3.5-inch Scrappy squares, and then I put them together. I think I didn't like it because there just wasn't enough of a color story to it. And I actually started, so there was another border around this. There was another border, which I've since cut off. And then this was part of the back. I think I've started cannibalizing the pieced back. There was other sections to this anyway that I've used for other things. I started quilting it, actually. So this was all basted, and I started quilting the border, and I decided I hated it. So I cut it all up and saved this bit of it. So I don't know if this needs to become a quilt. I still don't love it, or if it could be the back of something or what. So that's the closest thing I have to an unfinished actual quilt top. And I put it in my Orphan Block drawer here. Then I've got couple test blocks. No, this is a test block from the X Marks the Scrap quilt that didn't make it into the actual finished quilt. Then I started testing a pattern for somebody, and I didn't finish. I feel really bad about that, but I just couldn't, it was confusing. I gave her my feedback, but I just was like, I'm not going to continue with that one. that's another really bad test block from the X Marks the Scrap quilt. I've got some of my salvage edge fabric that I made. So some of these, like, I would definitely put into like a zipper pouch or something like that, but I just haven't done it yet. What are all these? Just various playing around with stuff. Some of the strips that, again, didn't quite make it into the X Marks the Scrap quilt last time. Just some of the random blocks. This was, okay, so this is like a quilted panel, I guess, from a class I took. If I can find where it was, I will link it. I think I didn't totally love the technique. Anyway, so that was one. What are these? Oh, these were some even more test blocks from the X Marks the Scrap quilt that I didn't love. This was like an earlier version of the free heart pattern that I've got. Didn't go with that one in the end. And this was like an EPP little thing I did, and then I was gonna start making it part of a quilt as you go thing. So this is quilted through, and then I didn't like the free motion quilting I did, so I put it in there. So I could cut that away and applique it on something else and have it be super poofy. And then these are just, what is this? This is probably part of the back of that other quilt that I cut away, and I was like, should I keep that? It's just, see, this is the kind of scrap quilting I started doing at the beginning, and then I've kind of realized since then that I really like to color theme a bit more. So this just to me looks like a hot mess. So I don't really know what to do with it. I could just like not throw it away, but I could still like shred it and use it as stuffing or something. I don't know. Or cut it up even further. This is like, this must have been I think I was doing some sort of class on Boro or something, and I never finished this. It was supposed to look like a lilac tree or something. And then I've got lots of different practice bits. I was trying to do like a New York Beauty thing block, and those ones didn't 100% work out, I think. And then a whole bunch of just different scrappy blocks. This is just like a quilted little square. I don't know what that was for, to be honest. Those are some more of those 3.5-inch scrappy squares. Oh, this is some more of that woman's test pattern. I'll just put those down there. Just some random blocks. So like, I know some people do put like orphan blocks together, and it can look really good. So I could try that. Let me know what you think. That was just some more of this. I don't want to just keep showing you this woman's pattern that I didn't finish. And yeah, hot mess. Like probably that. Some of these I just need to edit and just need to say that's stuffing or something like that, you know. Another random bit, like, you know, sometimes you play with stuff and it comes out nice and sometimes it doesn't. And yeah, again, I'm not sure what I was doing. Just kind of making stuff more. And then I've got a whole pouch full of these. These are log cabins. Yeah. Of different sizes. And and I think I was thinking of putting these scrappily together kind of thing. So that could be a thing. I've got quite a few of them. I won't go through them all. So there's a possibility of like an orphan block kind of quilt. And even though there's a lot here, I'm not sure there's enough, I don't know, that could go together. So this one I'm a bit not sure. This maybe needs to be a few different things. Need to just keep pulling from it, or maybe edit and decide, some of it needs another life as a backing of something or whatever. Okay, next one. Okay, so the next one is my kind of ongoing hexagon English paper piecing thing. So this one is closer to a whip because I actually do pull it out at least once a month to do something on it. So I'll show you a picture of the ones. I've got like sort of long rows of colors of hexagons. I haven't decided yet what's going to happen with that. And then I kind of just work on it as I have scraps. And often scraps I buy from other people, so I don't love all the fabrics in it. So that's one thing. And I don't have a total plan on it. So this is just my little box that I put out. So these are all basted so that I can put them together in their kind of color rows as I have time. So initially I think I was thinking it was going to be some kind of a rainbow deal. And now I'm wondering if I shouldn't have more of a plan for it or for the next version. So maybe I should use up what I have and sew it together to the extent that it is, and then applique that whole thing on top of something else, like a whole cloth thing. So that was one idea. Or I could separate them out and make some part of like a pink quilt and some part of like a blue, you know what I mean? So that's an option for that one. But that one, I'm not feeling too stressed about that one because it's just like a little hand sewing project here and there. You guys know I don't do a lot of hand sewing, so it's going to be just an ongoing long thing, and that's probably okay. So that one I can put back away. Okay, so the next ones. This one is another one that I'm minded to move on with and definitely do something with. This is my low volume crumb quilt. There's not a lot of it yet, but basically I separate out. So I've got one little basket where I put crumbs that have colors, and I try to every now and again sort through that and put them in little Ziploc bags for different colors, so that when I want to, I can just play and do some improv sewing, and it'll still be color coded, because that's the kind of lesson I've learned from some of the stuff that was in that Orphan Block box, that I don't like mixing all that stuff. Anyway, but I have a separate basket with low volume. And so I use some of that for that one crumb block that I did the video about. And it's also kind of trying to teach, because in my head, low volume a lot of the time means no color at all. And I know that's not what it means, that it's just like reads as white. So I'm trying to play with using colors that aren't all white, but are fabrics that aren't all white, and putting them together. So the idea was to do just a whole great big low volume quilt. These are just scrappy bits. I've got smaller bits. I've got other bits. But I've already noticing, even just with this few amount of stuff, that like there's cool groupings happening and warm groupings happening. So I could do like a split thing where it's like almost half and half, warm and cool, low volume, or quadrants or strips or whatever. So I'm kind of minded to make this a more regular thing and try and get this one finished, or at least get a bigger plan for it and move on with it, because there's sections of it that I quite like. Some I don't yet, but I think if I cut them up in the right way and sew them together in the right way, I might like them a bit better. So that's one. So this one and the Farmer's Wife one, so far I'm thinking I probably want to crack on with, but yeah, I'd love to hear what you think about those ones. And then I've got another one here that is not actually my own whip. It's my son's. So I've got two sons. The older one just turned 5, and when he was like just turned 4, maybe even a little bit younger, I can't remember now. So not long after I was like getting heavily into the quilting, he started being interested. He wanted to do something with Mom. So I was trying to figure out how I could help him quilt. And so I got him like a charm pack of like rainbow. He likes rainbow colors, of just 5-inch squares. And at the time I was using my Denim machine that has like, you can take out the presser foot thing and you can use a stop start button. So he learned how to lift the foot, how to do the stop start, how to change the speed. And I just helped him guide it under the foot. So we would have ridiculous sewing sessions where like he would be speeding it up and slowing it down and that stuff. So things are not straight. We got fairly far with it, and then I trimmed it down because we were talking about doing a border. We'd picked out a border, and then he decided he didn't want a border anyway. So it's a hot mess, but it's his first quilt, so I still love it. But so the corners do not match up. He picked all the colors and which colors go in what order. I'll take another photo of this. And then I kind of was trimming it off to try and make it an even size to put a border on. And then he decided he didn't want the border. And then at one point recently, he said, I don't want to finish it, Mommy, you finish it for me. So I was almost going to. either at a border or just quilted as it is. So he could just have it on his bed, even though it feels a bit small to me. I'm like pushing for it to be bigger so that he can actually use it for longer. But anyway, but then over the holidays, he suddenly wanted to do another row. So now I'm thinking this has to stay his project, and I'm not just going to finish it for him. So we'll see. I don't want it to be like left undone for ages. I would like him to get the satisfaction of having a finished project, and then he might want to, we could try some smaller sewing things. I feel like maybe starting him off with a quilt that has all these steps to it before he can enjoy it was not the best way to get him into it. So we'll see. Or maybe I could, go and do some smaller projects with him first and then get him to finish this. We'll see. Anyway, so that's his whip. And I've got another box for my youngest son who wanted to put a couple squares together himself, but it's nowhere near as progressed as this. So I'm not calling it a whip. It's just an occasional dip into thing. Okay, so this one, last one I think, some of this is just stored together. That's not really a whip. So I did a video about buying other people's patchwork last year, and I made some Linus quilts using some of those patchwork blocks that I got. And this is the rest of it that I haven't done anything with yet. So most of this is, well, some of them are just basted hexes, and some of them are shapes. So I've shown you can see them all in the video. And then there's whole sections of things. I think this, what's in here? Yeah, more like these are more like the sections or more finished bits, I think. So I could, again, I was thinking maybe I should just, instead of waiting for sort of the inspiration to strike, I could either put these onto cushions, but I don't know who I would give those to, or I could do something that is more like an applique. So if I applique this onto something else, instead of trying to like hand do these all together, because I would never do this lady justice who made these anyway. So, so that's an idea. But if you have any other ideas for these, so these could be, so if I was going to like, in the similar way I was talking about the smaller hexes, just sort of appliquing them on top of like a whole cloth thing, I could try something like that. And that might also, depending on the background, make them look a bit more modern because some of the fabrics are a little muted. So yeah, that's another project. It's, I don't know, is it my whip? Is it not? I bought the stuff, so now it is. So yeah, and I do want to do something with it. I don't want this just to sit. This was somebody's really, like you can see the tiny stitches. Somebody really spent a lot of time on this, and I want to turn it into something nice. So I would love any more suggestions about that. I think I've got myself hung up with trying to think I need to put them all in one thing, but the colors are really quite mixed, even though it was the same person. So maybe they need to be, again, a couple different things, and I need to just let myself use bits of it instead of thinking it has to be all in one project. So yeah, that's probably the last one. So I'll put that away off camera. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed looking through my whips. Some of them probably more interesting than others. Let me know if you'd be interested in watching a video about me finishing any of them. That, you guys give me good motivation in lots of areas. So if you say, go ahead and finish that one, it might just give me the drive to do it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you do like videos like this, then please don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. Thanks so much for spending time with me.